This is now section 7, the recommendations for the practice success. This is the last lesson in this course. There will be only one Bloom's Level 3 question, which means you need to apply what you learn from this section in the exam. There are some recommendations that will be listed here, and these are supported by the ITIL guiding principles, and that's what you're going to learn here. This is for you to just quickly recollect the 7 ITIL guiding principles. And whenever these practice guide contents are being used by organizations, they should always follow the ITIL guiding principles because they are the basic obligations. Focus on value, start where you are, progress iteratively with feedback, collaborate and promote visibility, think and work holistically, keep it simple and practical, optimize and automate. By now, you would have observed there are several tables in this practice, and is the case with other practices as well. Here we have 5 recommendations listed, and there is some explanation of each recommendation and followed by the guiding principles that apply to each of these recommendations. It's possible that you may conclude or add your own guiding principle as well for each of these recommendations, but for the exam, you need to stick to the listed guiding principles only, because the questions could be around a given situation, and you need to apply a specific recommendation based on the scenario given, or you may have to identify the principle that applies for a specific recommendation. The first one is to automate the deployment pipeline for faster delivery and reduced errors. So we know and understand that automation brings in its own benefits, faster deployments, less errors compared to manual work in general. And what it means here is that the automation is for the release management, the service validation and testing, and the deployment management all together. And together they can deliver value faster. In fact, there will also be automation in the software development and management, meaning the continuous integration aspect as well. And therefore, the manual steps need to be removed within the CI/CD pipeline. There needs to be identification of certain wasteful steps or any bottlenecks in the pipeline. The pipeline means beginning from the coding until the deployment. The second so this is where the principle of focus on value, optimize and automate, and start where you are applicable. So because it's automation, so definitely optimize and automate applies here. And because it's faster delivery, less errors, focus on value comes in. The start where you are is essentially automate what is already being done manually. Then the next recommendation is to integrate, build, and test and deployment activities. So all these build, test, and deployment activities need to be integrated together. So again, it is about the CI/CD integration. It's very similar to the previous recommendation. This also reduces the lead time to deliver services, features to the live environment. And this integration improves the collaboration between the development, testing, and deployment teams. Therefore, the principle of collaboration, collaborate and promote visibility applies here. And because we have the CI/CD integration here, therefore optimize and automate as well. And because it's a combination of build, test, and deployment, therefore thinking and working holistically also applies here. Then we have the continuous phased development deployment with integrated testing. So once again, continuous phased deployment with integrated testing. The phased means the incremental deployment to manage deployment and scale accordingly, meaning if there's a large deployment, it can be broken down into smaller parts and deployed in an incremental manner. Or if there are several features to be deployed, then the priority features can be deployed first. And then as the requirements emerge, for example, in an agile environment, then additional features could be deployed. So therefore, we have the agile principle here, progress iteratively with feedback. But also when the larger chunks of work or uncertain requirements are worked in an agile manner, and we are making moving in smaller steps to meet the ultimate goal of the deployment, larger deployment, we are also applying the principle of keeping it simple and practical. Then we have the leverage infrastructure as code. We acknowledged this in one of the lessons earlier. This IAC or IAAC provides multiple benefits, and please remember these benefits. It reduces costs, offers more scalability, enhances security. It provides automated process of installing and configuring software that enable reliable releases. And again, this is automation, so optimize and automate. So for example, the organization might have some scripts in place to automate the deployments, which means they are having continuous delivery capability in place. And if they want to really fully automate each and every deployment for more frequent deployment, then they will run those automated scripts frequently in an automated manner and achieve the continuous deployment capability. And this infrastructure as a code means there needs to be some people resources who can write this code, and therefore collaboration and promote visibility principle also applies, because these people would work along with the deployment, other deployment resources. Then we have demonstrate business value, the last recommendation here. Now, this is about how the business value realized can be depicted or shown to the stakeholders. And that can happen by measuring the practice and producing regular reports and dashboards, both internal and external. So internal for the service provider stakeholders, external for the consumer stakeholders. So dashboards can be used for reporting, and the regular reports can facilitate analysis and highlighting situations. So this is about focus on value. And note that this recommendation doesn't generate the value, it only demonstrates the value that was generated. And because it's purely about measurement and reporting. And again, the collaboration and promoting visibility is needed so as to acknowledge that the measurements and reports are correct, and before it is published to all the concerned stakeholders. So that sort of concludes this recommendations for practice success. Particularly note the infrastructure as a code, because it reduces cost, and that can be due to there may be some errors, manual errors during the deployment, and if infrastructure as a code is used, it is automated and there is less likelihood of errors in that case, or maybe the errors could be eliminated.